The date is Friday, February 25th, and you're listening to Entertain This, a thought-provoking podcast encapsulating all things entertainment. On this episode, we're discussing yet another classic dark comedy movie, American Psycho. This film is more than just a gruesome glimpse inside the mind of a murderer. It's nothing short of a masterpiece. So join us as we find out we're all a little bit psycho in the end, and enjoy.
Live from Thursday night, it's Entertain This!
Entertain This.
Hey, that's pretty good.
I tried.
Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome back to Entertain This, the only show on the internet encapsulating all things entertainment. Of course, I am your host, Alex.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Nick.
And because of the recent failings of the different radio stations around the country, I've decided to take on more of a disc jockey persona in our show.
Is that Johnny Fever? WKRP?
I'm Fever Dream Steel, and you're listening
Oh,
to
no.
Entertain This. We come at you fast, we come at you right with the facts that hit just right. I rhymed right with right, and that's how I did it. Let's talk about the news. What's in the news? What's in the news? What's in the news? Russia invading Ukraine? That seems like a sticky situation. Willem Dafoe in the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. What do you think? Let's get our first caller, Michael.
I like William Dafoe. I've never played Five Nights at Freddy's. I'm a fan.
That the energy of your response was the same as the kid who was like, apparently I've never been on the news before. Apparently they don't give me the remote anymore because every time they do, I turn on the Powerball.
He's 80 years old. In
I
a
love
5-year-old's
that kid
body.
so much.
Yeah, he's really great. He's really great.
I hope he's doing
Um,
okay. You think?
Yeah, he's probably doing fine.
Most-
Most
doing
I
model
like
train
Turtles
sets in
Kid.
There's so many viral children nowadays. To be a viral child is almost nothing anymore. Like, it's a story you get to tell at parties, and that's about it.
And people go, oh, cool.
Yeah.
It sounds
Anyways.
it sounds like how you ruin a family with a viral child.
I think it depends on
viral?
how viral the exactly,
Yeah.
Nick. It depends on how viral the child gets, because there's definitely a level of virality in which you become a bad person.
Yeah.
You remember
And-
Yodel Boy?
Who?
Yodel Boy.
No.
Oh no, he's just.
You mean the
working Subway
Walmart
now?
The Walmart country singer?
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
he's
yeah.
still going, dude. He's actually a pretty cool guy from what I've heard.
Oh,
Like
okay.
he took all of the money he made from that song and like donated all of it, and
To
now he's
Walmart?
like, no, oh my god, no.
They
is
need
that-
it. I'm
No,
telling
they
you.
don't. They absolutely don't. I can tell you that the CEO of Walmart is currently living on the same island as like multiple drug cartel like leaders because that's how much money they make that they
Give
can
it
live next
give it
door to
the
them.
Workers, maybe, yeah.
Okay, well maybe the workers. They can't start a union. Anyway,
Not in this
let's
house.
entertain this. We get way off topic. We had a train of thought and now it's gone. So we're just gonna start the episode. Okay?
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess we can do that. Sure.
Okay. Great. Let's do it.
How do we start an episode? Do you guys remember?
Yeah,
It's
you
been a
start
while.
talking.
Oh, okay. So,
You know,
If
for a guy
I'm-
who likes trains, you often get off track.
I get
That's a
derailed.
major dick burn. Dick burn, Nick burn.
Same thing.
For those
really.
of you playing the at-home game, Michael is currently on heavy doses of medication due to a
Yeah.
recent surgery. So he said dick burn, and that is known as a Freudian slip.
Keep your wieners away from hot objects.
I thought you were going to say trains. I don't know why. I
Those
thought
too.
you were
I mean,
going to
they'll
say
flatten it.
trains, and it would have been good advice too. I just thought that's what you were going to say.
Obvious advice. I'm all here for it. You know that.
Keep your dick away from trains.
Anyways, can I start with a rhetorical question?
Of course, you usually do.
You like Huey Lewis in the news? Their earlier work was a little too new wave for my taste, but when sports came out in '83, I think they really came into their own,
Time
commercially
out.
and artistically.
Time out.
The whole album was a clear Christmas sound.
No, hold on.
Yeah, I think that counts as copyright infringement if we just like read the script of American Psycho the whole episode.
You can compare it to Elvis and Costello, but I think Huey has a far more bitter, cynical sense of humor.
Hey, could I stop you and go back to when I had said timeout?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because you're speaking as though you were alive when Huey Lewis and the News were a mainstream name, which you
Most
were
certainly
not, unless the ongoing theory that you are in fact a timeless vampire, specifically an energy vampire. That theory continues. Now, can you just confirm to me that you weren't alive when Huey and the News
No,
were?
I'm a model year 94, so
Okay,
you know
great.
that.
You can keep going now. I just wanted to confirm that you are not an immortal
On the
being.
record.
On the record, I'll swear on a Bible or whatever precious
Okay,
book
you
you have
touch a
laying
Bible,
around.
so that's something.
I don't know. I haven't touched a Bible in a while. I'll have to confirm that later.
How many years, Nick?
I don't know. 5? Maybe?
100?
Anyway, Huey
Fine.
Lewis and the News. They wrote some songs for hit movies such as Back to the Future
That's true.
and others.
He released Hip to Be Square in 1987, as you know.
Yep, that's the one.
It's a song so catchy that most people probably didn't listen to the lyrics, but they should, because it's about the pleasures of conformity and the importance of trends. It's also a personal statement about the band itself. Hey guys, we're talking about American Psycho today.
Woo!
Hey, cool.
Sorry about the little monologue. I had to start with a little bit of Hip to Be Square. I know I had to do it. So, if there's one lesson the pandemic lockdowns have taught us, it's the fact that we're social creatures. We know this. Social in the way that we need some kind of human interaction, whether that's through a podcast or calling somebody up on the phone or something like that. But, some of us didn't cope so well in the pandemic, and maybe we got a little too up inside our heads. Maybe some of us snapped. And it's these snaps that are kind of what are the premise of this movie, I guess, if you want to call it that. But in some way, I think people became unhinged, just, I guess, a little antsy during these lockdowns, these long quarantine isolation months that maybe led them down a path of destructive behaviors to themselves or others. And you can see this evidenced by the quick uptick of violent crime in the post-lockdown months here in the States. And part of that might be just because we forgot to deal with people, or maybe that's because we walked out of our houses and got annoyed at our neighbor. And then you're like, that's it. I got to go. I got to go attack them with a shovel or what have you, or something like that. But that's just me speculating, of course. I don't have education in any kind of these subject matters, so just be aware that some people have deep invisible wounds that maybe haven't healed yet, and they can't help the way they act. Speaking of the way people act, there's an entire field of psychology related to personalities, and it's called, drumroll please, personality psychology.
Whoa, who would have thought?
Yeah. Scientists are really bad at naming things, or really good, depending on who you ask. But we'll get into that a bit later in this episode, because I think it has a close relationship with this cult classic dark comedy horror film called American Psycho. So I'm just going to open it up to discussion now. What's going on with this film? Do you guys remember anything? Hopefully you've watched it. I don't know.
No,
I haven't watched it.
Neither of you have watched it.
No,
I've
seen a lot of clips from it, but never actually watched it.
Is it the one with the business card scene?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah, like I've seen the business card scene. I've seen the scene of him at the bar, and I've seen the scene that you that you gave the script, the talking script on. Yeah.
I always get this and Bates Motel confused for some reason.
I have not seen Bates Motel.
I don't know why. I just always get those two movies confused. But yeah, American Psycho, I've definitely seen parts of it.
So you guys have both seen parts of it. That's a good start.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe throughout this podcast, I will convince you to entertain this, huh?
I don't know.
What? I'm sorry, I was yawning. What'd you say?
Could you entertain this?
What?
Could you do me a kindness and entertain this?
That feels like a good launching point. Yeah,
I like it.
Okay. So I remember the first time I watched it was back in 2017.
The good old days.
The pre-pandemic days. Yeah, I remember those days. Maybe we can go back to them someday. I don't know.
Probably not.
I watched it with Natalie, my current girlfriend.
Weird way of putting that.
For now, no. But I don't know what brought me to it. I guess it was all the memes that I saw about it, or
Mhm.
because usually that's the best way to get me to watch something is if you send a whole bunch of memes my way about the thing, then I'll get
Yep.
curious enough that I'll go and watch it. So maybe that was it because I saw the Christian Bale with the X over his head and the blood on his face. No, it was right when he was putting on Huey Lewis in the news where he's pointing. He's like, I don't know. That'll
He's
be
a
fun for our
big.
video
That movie is
listeners.
memed from left to right.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It is memed all over the place.
and that's why I watch things because of the memes. So to understand this movie better, to understand maybe what drew me to it in the first place, we have to kind of get inside the mind of a psychopath or a psycho, outside of being a serial killer, of course. And we have to first understand why anyone would want to become a psychopath, or how does this happen to a person? A psychopath, as defined by Google, is a person suffering from chronic mental disorder with abnormal or violent social behavior. So we've already established right off the bat it's mental illness we're dealing with here. So that's something you don't want to hear us yahoos talk about. Maybe skip ahead a little bit or skip this episode altogether. But I mentioned coping before, and it's an important word in this episode for the movie, and I think we mentioned it quite a lot in the Encanto episode as well. But it really delves into how we humans cope with any negative experience that we may have. That's what coping is all about, right? Whether that's falling off your bike as a kid or dealing with somebody that's wronged you in some way, or perhaps it's just learning to live with the unintended side effects of living in our capitalist society. And our capitalist world, by its very nature, is maybe a little bit dehumanizing. Maybe it's a better word for it is individualizing at a base level. You think about all the communist or the capitalist propaganda where it's all like, oh, it's you can do it, you can pull yourself up by your bootstraps, you can really make something of yourself here in this capitalist land that we have. So there's a lot of focus on just individuality in this particular country of ours, and it's all about me and the products I can buy with the money that I don't really have. Maybe a word for describing what ails the main character in this movie is consumerism.
Mhm.
It's that coupled with a personality disorder that leads to kind of what you see in the film. And what better time period to set this critique of the yuppie era or the consumerist age than the 1980s? I mean, think about the 1980s when America's society had this big shift towards, oh, I got to make money. And we kind of lifted up all these CEOs as role models in some way. Donald Trump became big in this era too. Everyone wanted to be rich and famous. There was this show on, was it in the 80s or the 70s? It was Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. You guys
Oh,
ever
I
seen that?
think it was the 80s.
Yeah, where they showed, oh, he has 2 yachts, and this one has a gold-plated hot tub in it.
Like we had that growing up in the 2000s with like VH1.
Oh yeah,
Like, VH1 had all of those. Like, what does Oprah Winfrey do with her millions of dollars? Because at the time, like millions was a lot, and now we're upwards into like the trillions.
yeah.
Money means nothing,
Yeah,
and
it's
it
all
has
fake.
no value.
Yeah, keep telling yourself that.
Consumerism is a drug.
True.
There's a skit on SNL. This kind of has something to do with what we're talking about, where it's like the Home Improvement Brothers, and it's like C stands for compassion, C stands for contemplation, and then the last one is Ryan Gosling. He goes, C stands for corporations run capitalism, and capitalism is a drug. He's like the grungy brother. It's hilarious.
I love him.
It's it's kind of scary how accurate that is.
Yeah.
Because consumerism kind of is like a drug when you think about it. It's all about how can I feel good with the money that I don't have somehow.
Yeah.
Consumerism. Put it on a credit card. Buy yourself a mink jacket. Go for it. Make yourself look like Donald Trump in the 80s.
Again, money's not real.
Money. Yeah, I noticed that like there's less like physical cash in my wallet. Every time I have to make a purchase, it's
I
always like
actively avoid it.
credit card.
Yeah, I actively avoid it because like I am like much less likely to actually use it.
Yeah.
And like there's situations where like I absolutely need to use it, and I'm just like, well, won't do it.
I find comfort in the fact almost constantly knowing that when I'm like walking around the streets, like by myself late at night, if I were to get mugged, which is a rare occurrence in at least the part of the city in which I live,
Mhm.
if I were to get mugged, it would be more of a hassle for the mugger to mug me and go through the processes of trying to get anything out of me than it would be to just leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah, because it's like you're not disappointed that like you're like there's nothing for them to realistically take. It's like, cool, now you've just caused me a big inconvenience.
That's basically really what you like. Now I'm going to cancel my card. You're not going to get anything from me. You ended up with a lot of garbage, and I ended up with like a lot of responsibility that I now have to take for it.
I think for mine, it's like they would end up with like 2 gift cards to Chipotle and another gift card to Skyline, and that's it.
They got more from you than they got from me because I have my wallet right here. They would get.
Let's see. What do you got?
A Walt Disney World Magic card.
Ooh.
My driver's license with a bad picture of me that says I am 5'9", which I am not.
Yeah, you're totally 6 foot, right?
I am definitely taller than 5'9", but the lady sits down at the DMV and refuses to stand up to check the height chart. So from her angle, I could be as tall or short as I want.
That's true.
I have a library card. I have a second library card.
Nice.
Wow.
I have a business card from a man who I'm not going to contact. I have 2 comics to games punch cards.
Wow.
And I have a laminated copy of my vaccination card. That's what they would get from me.
Nice.
Oh, and 2 free movie tickets.
That's big.
That's huge.
They'd steal
That's
your
like
wallet.
$40 right there.
Congratulations, you got chores to do.
So if anybody's thinking about mugging me, that's what you stand to gain. If it's worth your time, it shouldn't be.
I probably have a couple of dollars. I mean, that's all you're gonna net with me. And of course the debit and credit card and all that. But
yeah, again though, that's just like, don't mug people. You're just causing an inconvenience. You're not actually.
Yeah, guys, stop mugging people.
Mugging is so last century.
So lame.
Yeah.
If you wanna steal my stuff, do it the smart way and hack my bank account and buy a lot of buy 1 pizza from La Rosa's and tip your fiance $3,000 from my card. Like once happened to me in the middle of the night.
Jeez. Yeah, money doesn't have real value, but I guess it does because we all agree that it does, you know. It's kind of a scary thought that we all just agree that this piece of paper right here, it has value.
What does this have to do with American Psycho? Is this what drives him nuts? Because it drives me nuts every day.
So here's a segue. You know how we place so much value on the facades of looking nice or something like that? The kind of aesthetic that we present to the world. We put a lot of value on that, don't we?
Yeah. Well, it depends on why you do it.
I bought a $20 Spider-Man suit.
Ooh.
That's cool, but that's not what I'm talking about.
I'm sorry. I thought we were talking about spending money to present ourselves in a certain way.
Yeah, that's a
the world.
Pretty good segue.
And I say again, I spent $20 on a Spider-Man suit.
And you refused to put it on, but I saw you wear the mask. So that
put on the mask.
I'll take it. You guys missed
anyone
it in the
can put on
pre-show.
a mask.
Go to Patreons only. No, not yet.
If you were our Patreon, we would let you in. Just so you know.
We had to see Alex in the Spider-Man suit.
Mm-hmm.
Be quite a treat. But anyways, we spend a lot of money, especially in this culture, on our outward appearances, the way we look. You know, the people will say that your first impression is the strongest. What's the first thing that anybody knows about you before they've even spoken to you? It's how you look, how you present yourself. So, you know, there's good reasons, there's bad reasons for looking the way that you do. But a lot of it is kind of based on the, you know, how much money you appear to have, especially in the Wall Street community with bankers and all that. Because that's what Patrick Bateman, the main character in this movie, is. That's his job. That's his occupation. He's a investment banker of some sort. He's in charge of mergers and acquisitions, or as he mishears it, murders and executions just once in the movie. And he's like, what, huh? This movie plays in your head a little bit. So it's kind of a trip in that way. But yeah, consumerism, it's a problem. It's still a problem today. I'll say it. It wasn't just in the 1980s, you know?
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Would American Psycho be kind of like a cautionary tale for even something like crypto and like NFTs? Like when I hear like, because a lot of what you're saying is like stuff about like the physical world. Well, in my mind, it's like NFTs and crypto are kind of like the digitization of that consumerism.
It could be, yeah.
Yeah, because like with like you're worried about your outward appearance on the web. Okay, go get a fucking NFT like that you like.
Look at my profile picture.
Yeah, look at my profile picture. It's hexagonal.
Oh, wow.
I know.
I didn't see that.
It just seems like there's some parallels there.
Yeah, I didn't see that, but now that you're bringing that up, I'm like, sure, yeah, I can see it now. But really, what this is a indictment, if you will, of the yuppie culture. And yuppie is kind of a dated word, but it means a young person in a well-paid job with a fashionable lifestyle. This was kind of a big term in the 80s where all these young people were moving to the city, getting big banker jobs, and then
Making big money.
Now we're all yuppies.
Well, I don't have money, but we try, don't we? We really do.
You have a house.
I could liquidate this asset. That's a good idea. Spend it on crypto.
You're what, 27, 28, and you own a house? Yeah, you're a yuppie.
You're a yuppie.
I wouldn't say I'm fashionable at all, though.
Michael has what I would consider to be a high-rise apartment.
Yeah, there you go.
At least for our city.
A Northern Kentucky standard, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm on the 6th floor. All right.
Looking down.
And he's got a balcony.
Yeah.
He can spit on the drunken peasants who walk the alleys below his apartment.
Yeah, let me tell you about my yuppie lifestyle where I'm glued to my recliner, taking pain meds or eating ice cream and watching anime.
Because your apartment has a fucking gym in it where you tore your muscle working out.
Shut up.
It's not like you were out there like pitching coal and you tore your shoulder or something.
No, I've got to simulate the prehistoric lifestyle.
Sorry, I wasn't accurate in my description of what happened to Michael. He has an apartment, or he has a workout place in his apartment with all the workout equipment. He instead goes to a different place where he pays money monthly to work out because it has more equipment.
Yeah.
So
true.
Yeah.
Yuppie.
No, I'm not a yuppie.
I'm not a yuppie.
I'm not a yuppie. Take it back.
Michael's doing very
if
well.
Patrick Bateman saw the way I lived, he'd be fucking disappointed. Let's be real.
Yeah. I mean, we all live like a modified bohemian lifestyle where we're all just living paycheck to paycheck.
No matter how much
our
money you
standard
actually
is
make.
now.
Yeah, no matter how much you make, you're still on the brink of starvation. But
yeah,
ain't that America?
We forget to eat because we're a terrible generation of human beings.
I never forget to eat. That should be apparent.
You're not thick. I don't know how this has continued. There's a bit that wasn't named during our bit list.
Yeah,
in the last episode.
Come on, thicker than a bowl of
nickname Thick Neck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a good bit.
So,
anyways,
we're yuppies.
Yeah, if you want to think of Patrick Bateman like Michael, no, I'm kidding. Don't do that.
No, don't kill anyone.
Wow, that I know of. I mean, that's what makes a good murderer, if you can cover up your
Thou
crimes.
doth protest too much.
Anyways, here in America, we're kind of constantly bombarded with advertisements. People constantly market to us like, hey, you should be living this lifestyle, or you should be taking these supplements, you should be going to this gym. It's all just, marketing for lack of a better word. But I think our minds are kind of warped by the monetization of everything that has occurred since the 1980s. If you have a hobby that you like to do, well, you should start selling it. If you have extra time on your hands, well, why don't you do a number of side hustles out there? Why don't you DoorDash? Why don't you have a hustle that you do when you're not making money? You're spending it, of course. And maybe you're just not living if you're not spending money. That's the message that I get a lot from these from the ads. So why not just pay another monthly subscription that is for something you're not going to use? It's kind of what these ads are saying. But it's kind of within this social climate that we see it's ripe for the production of a psychopath and or sociopaths. There's a difference that you can Google. But what is it that makes one? Well, if you look closer at their upbringings and genetics and so on, that's one way to do it, sure. But we don't have, I mean, this movie's only 90 minutes long. You're going to go into Patrick Bateman's upbringing? No. You're just going to show him committing murders and stuff like that. So there's something called the Dark Triad of personality traits that is that was referenced.
Am I about to learn something about myself? I don't want to learn something about myself right now.
I really hope not.
Okay. I'll do my best not to be public about how this is about to affect me.
I see these in myself. That's the scary part. Not as bad as like murdering people, because that.
Okay.
I think we all can agree that's the red line that you don't cross. So
I feel like I'm currently sitting in a pot and it's about to start boiling. So will you just turn up those burners and boil me already?
We just set the fire. Now I
identify myself far too much in almost everything.
Yeah.
So let's get it.
It's fairly normal. You're okay. Be sure not to have like first year psychology student syndrome, which is when you diagnose yourself with everything. Yeah. We're going to try and avoid that. So I'll pull you back from the edge if you're getting too close to it. But personality psychology, I took a semester of this in college.
That makes you an expert.
Not at all. It was a scholarly intrigue of mine. It kind of seeks the answer to the question of why people are the way they are. And I still don't have an answer to that, but it's all a very hotly contested academic field, whether we have personality types or personality traits that make us who we are. There's a difference between those two. Once again, you can Google it, but we're not here to get into those arguments because I'm not smart enough and I only took a semester of this. So let's get on with it. Let's talk about the Dark Triad. All three of these Dark Triad traits are conceptually distinct, although empirical evidence shows them to be overlapping. They are associated with the callous manipulative interpersonal style. And here are the three Dark Triad traits. You have narcissism. It's number one. It's characterized by grandiosity, pride, egotism, and a lack of empathy. Machiavellianism is characterized by manipulation, exploitation of others, and an absence of morality, unemotional callousness, and a high level of self-interest. So you can already see the little overlap there with narcissism. And then third is psychopathy. It's not the ale that you can get from Rheingeist. It's characterized by a continuous antisocial behavior, impulsivity, selfishness, callous, unemotional traits, and remorselessness. So,
okay, I don't identify with any of that. I don't think.
Okay, so you're good.
Good.
Right.
It scares me that you do identify with some of that.
There's only a few that I'm like, you know what? Sometimes I can be a little, but it's not like all the time, right?
Right. I mean, here's what I'll say is everything you just described sounds like a version of me that could absolutely happen if I were left to my own devices long enough without anyone interfering. I think that I could naturally fall into all of those categories if left alone for about a year, maybe 2.
Right. Exactly. When you, I don't know. It's like when you have like a change in your life of some sort, that's how it can kind of tweak something in your brain. It's, now I'm a serial killer or whatever. I don't know.
We're not, listen folks at home, listen, we're not professional psychologists. No. We don't understand the human brain, and we don't know what makes people kill people. We don't know any of that, and we don't claim to know that. As much as it may sound like we claim to know that, we have no idea. We simply are discussing the possibility of going absolutely batshit crazy and killing people. We don't know anything.
This film kind of plays with that idea too, because the story is told by Patrick Bateman himself, and he's what's known as an unreliable narrator.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love
all
those.
Throughout the film, you have a voice in the back of your head that's like, how much of this is true? What is going on? And of course,
we have all been in a job that we hate, and in our head played out what it'd be like to kill everybody there.
Just lose it, man, or scream at your boss.
I know Michael has had probably a novella that he read in his mind about ending everybody who walks in the door at Tivana.
All those yuppies, right, man? They just come in there like, can I have the boba mocha frappe?
I don't think even that. It was everyone wanting to come and get all their fucking free samples of bullshit.
He would just, drop a little arsenic into the tea.
I've had it with these people.
For legal reasons, I have never poisoned anybody. Knowingly.
I poisoned
As a legal disclaimer, I have never touched arsenic knowingly.
Everybody knows cyanide's in nowadays anyways. Cyanide and happiness. Fuck. So there's a 5-factor five-factor model of personality that personality scientists, psychologists, one of those two, they like to reference, and it's known as the ocean model. So it's easy to remember because it's an acronym. It's one is openness to experience, C, conscientiousness, E, extroversion, A, agreeableness, and N, neuroticism. So you take this quiz, and I actually did take it. It's pretty cool.
How'd you score, pal?
High in the Dark Triad. I took a different test. I don't remember what the ocean test got me. because it was several years ago, but I took something similar to that, which was kind of emulating the Myers-Briggs personality types. And just for the record, I'm an INTJ, which is the architect personality trait type. You can take it yourself too. I think it's like 60 personalities, 16 personalities.com.
I've taken it before.
Yeah, it's interesting, if nothing else.
I was surprised to find out that it listed me as introverted, but it also does make sense. I am a social introvert, so
yeah, I'm very much. I think an INTJ stands for introvert. So
yeah, I present as extroverted, but I am like deeply introverted myself
from time to time. Yeah.
Not from time to time. Like it is my natural state is to be introverted.
Yeah,
But
I don't like being around people.
Yeah, because it's not like about like whether or not
it's not
you
about
like
liking
being
it.
around-
It's about
yeah.
being comfortable.
Yeah, well, it's
Oh,
about like how you get your energy. Like, does it energize
That's
you
it.
to be around a bunch of people and make you feel good, or does it like energize you and make you feel good to be alone and doing your own thing?
yes.
Yeah. I love
So, yeah.
being around people, but it makes me tired.
Yeah,
It does. Kind of wears you down.
Make me tired.
Anyways, yeah, it's a whole thing. You can take the ocean model that I just referenced is kind of like a sliding scale. So you can be like way open to experience or like not so much. Then you get, a breakdown based on each of those 5 traits. So it's pretty interesting. Within that is kind of like the Dark Triad model sits, I guess, meshes with it. But it has relationships with the Dark Triad because these traits are overall negatively related to both agreeableness and conscientiousness. So if you have somebody that's low in agreeableness and low in conscientiousness, you have a greater propensity towards the Dark Triad traits.
So hold on. Can we have some layman's terms for some
Sure.
of these? If you wouldn't mind, you seem to have a better understanding. So like
So
conscientiousness
yeah,
is
so
about
that-
like how much thought you put into your own actions, right?
Yes,
And
exactly.
how much you just do and don't think about it.
Yeah, and agreeableness is how how agreeable you are, how well you get along with others, how others might see you as somebody that they can open up to, I guess.
So let's come up with a fictional person and try to evaluate them. Let's call him Ross. We'll call
Ross.
him Ross Chaw. Ross Chaw.
Okay.
Would probably be pretty good. And let's just say we're all friends with Ross Chaw.
Mhm.
And let's just say they're a DM for our D&D games.
Okay.
And maybe they used to be my roommate.
Maybe.
So let's go ahead and think about them and list how they kind of sit on this. Were they conscientious of their actions? No, they were not.
Probably not. Yeah.
Were they what are the other ones?
Oh, you want the ocean again?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Openness to experience.
No.
Not not at all.
Not at all.
The things listed here are they inventive / curious versus consistent / cautious.
Consistent / cautious is where I would put Ross Chaw.
Okay, so then there's conscientiousness. We've already been over that. It's efficient, organized versus extravagant and careless.
I would say efficient and organized.
Yeah, that's probably where I would be too. Extroversion.
No, introverted. I'm talking about the fictional Ross Chaw right now.
Right. Agreeableness.
No, not at all.
Yeah, friendly, compassionate, or
actively trying to fight people is
critical
where I would
or
say
rational.
Ross Chaw sits.
Neuroticism, which is sensitive / nervous versus resilient and confident.
I would say sensitive and nervous at most times.
Right. So that kind of, you can plot those on a graph.
Okay.
I don't have a piece of paper, so it's kind of a problem. But anyways.
Just from the sound of it, I would say Ross Chaw is a psychopath.
Okay. He's got to have all 3 of those traits, I think. Gosh, I can't remember that documentary I watched in class, but it was it was this guy, and they were interviewing all these like psychopathic people. They're like, yeah, I just want to do this and this and blah, 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 and one day I'm going to rule the world and all this. It's like, damn, dude.
Damn, shawty.
A little narcissist much? It was it was pretty cool. But Dark Triad. You got to stay away from those people if you can help it. Machiavellianism.
I know Machiavelli.
Yeah, he was in Assassin's Creed too.
Italian guy who wrote many good short stories.
Very good, very good. Everybody has a connection. Let's keep moving forward.
He, well, not him, but Machiavellianism captures a suspicious versus trusting view of human nature, which is also captured by the trust subscale on the agreeableness trait. Extroversion captures similar aspects of assertiveness, dominance, and self-importance as narcissism. Narcissism also positively related to the achievement, striving, and competence aspects of conscientiousness. Psychopathy has the strongest correlations with low dutifulness and deliberation aspects of conscientiousness. So there's subtraits within the ocean traits, and it gets very confusing.
You said psychopathy?
Yeah, it's not the IPA. Sorry.
Ah, damn it.
Yeah. That's Run Guys, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't fuck with IPAs, but I've seen the bottle in the
which stands for Indian Pale Ale for anyone out there who didn't know.
Yes.
All IPAs come from India.
Yep.
That's something that I learned recently.
Yep.
We can continue.
Either or. I don't know which. But there's a popular myth that psychopaths and sociopaths can restrict their pain or have no response to pain whatsoever. This extends to the biological responses like wincing when a light is shown directly into the eye. And funnily enough, this is shown in the movie when detective who's trying to figure out all these crimes, because Patrick Bateman's killed a lot of people and he's trying to figure out these people have gone missing and he can't, like, where do they go? So he's in the office that Patrick works in, and he has a CD case, and funnily enough, it's Huey Lewis and the News 4 album. And it's catching the light just so from the window, and it's bouncing into Patrick Bateman's eye, and he doesn't even flinch. It just goes, you can see it. So that should be a big red flag for that detective, if that was actually true, of course. But so the author of the book, this is based off a book, by the way. It was released in 1991, and this film came out in 2000. So there was a 9-year gap between the book coming out and the film, and there's reasons for that, primarily due to it's just very gruesome, and transgressive, I guess, is another word that I've seen used, which just means it's in your face wrong on all aspects of it. This is a quote from the author of the book, Bret Easton Ellis. He said, "Bateman was crazy the same way I was. He did not come sitting down and wanting to write a grand sweeping indictment of yuppie culture. It initiated because of my own isolation and alienation at a point in my life. I was living like Patrick Bateman. I was slipping into a kind of consumerist void that was supposed to give me confidence and make me feel good about myself, but just made me feel worse and worse and worse about myself. This is where the tension of American Psycho came from. It came from a much more personal place. I was so on the defense because of the reaction of that book that I wasn't able to talk about it on that level." So that's kind of a retrospective in his eyes about.
Yeah. I think that if I wrote a book about a crazy murderer who like killed people, and basically was the product of just isolation, and it was based off of how I was feeling at the time, and then everybody was like, "Oh, this book's disgusting. Patrick Bateman's a monster.
Yeah."
Ew. I'd be like,
"How'd you react to that?"
"Oh fuck."
No, I can't talk about it.
They're gonna put me in a freaking in the grippy socks. They're gonna put me in grippy socks. I gotta get out of here, man.
Yo, but those grippy socks though, I got some the other day. They're fantastic.
They're great, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't slip and slide on the floors anymore.
They're great to take home. They're terrible to be stuck in.
Couldn't agree more. And that gown, why doesn't it close in the back? Big questions. That's a comic bit.
It's easy access. That's why.
Yeah.
What are you going to the doctor for?
Stuff, things, you know.
normal 30-year-old things.
Normal 80-year-old things.
I bet this stuff gets really funny once you are older than 26.
It's more relatable.
Yeah. We're just trying to be relatable. That's all we're trying to do. So in 2000, writer Genevieve Turner and writer/director Mary Herron adapted this American Psycho book into a dark comic film released by Lionsgate Films. And this screenplay that they wrote, Genevieve Turner and Mary Herron, was selected over 3 others. So it was also, one was written by the author of the book himself, who wrote a screenplay, took a stab at it, didn't get selected. So it's kind of a big oof. Guess it sucked.
As we're talking about how American Psycho has developed, can I call forth our fact checker Chloe to talk about American Psycho the musical?
Yes, please. Yeah, I didn't know it was a musical until I read.
Here she comes.
All right.
She has good stuff to say because she lit up when I asked. Hey, what up?
Oh,
she's muted. She doesn't even know it.
I do now. Thanks.
Hey,
Hey guys.
Can I ask, how do you create a musical from such a dark movie?
Let's hear about it.
You start by being Duncan Sheik. That's a great start.
Who?
Who that is.
He wrote Spring Awakening, which is my musical.
Okay.
And
We've all seen Spring Awakening because Chloe was recently in a production of it. And that actually super tracks for Spring Awakening.
Totally.
Yeah. So that guy, read this weird German play about, teenagers killing themselves and was like, I could do that. And then he sees this movie, American Psycho, with a guy killing people with an axe. And he's like, I could do that too. Yeah.
Jeez.
And of course, it's based on the novel as well by Bret Easton Ellis. But the musical came out in 2013 in London, and then it had a brief stint in 2016 on Broadway, and 2019 in Sydney, Australia.
Okay.
And
I just want to note that this is all off the top of her head. I did not give her time to look this up.
That's incredible.
It didn't ever get the chance that it deserved, and it's very weird. So it was just one of those shows that could never get a foothold, but the music is really funky. If you ever have an hour to yourself, I would suggest listening to the original cast recording, because it's
That's funny.
It's very techno and
very
strange.
Cool. Does it feel 80s?
Yeah, for sure. There's lots of weird synths, and there's a whole song about 80s fashion.
Very good.
Yeah, because they're all super obsessed with the way that they look.
Yes.
And it just, I feel like it didn't get the reception that it deserved. I think it's an interesting concept and interesting music, and it's just hard to put a show on in London. Most people are like, bring out the music, man.
Londoners are very high class, right?
We want Chaplin again. Keep doing Chaplin the musical.
Guys, we just want to do new stuff.
Newsies and Wicked, and that's it.
Bring back Shakespeare, I say.
Well, there's plenty of that too.
Okay, thanks, Chloe.
You're welcome. Thanks for letting me talk about musicals.
Yeah, of course.
I love that. That's awesome. I had no idea that it was that popular at all, or that it tried to be popular.
I just figured that while we were talking about how it was converted from a movie to a book, it would also have been interesting to hear about it being converted to a musical, because that is something that happened.
Yeah. I'll be sure to catch it next time it's in town, if it ever
It won't be.
Here.
Listen to it on Spotify, though.
I most certainly will.
I'm sure that a lot of community theaters try to put it on.
And then they just get shot down.
No. They probably successfully put it on. It just isn't, to the quality that you would have wanted it to be.
Mm.
So.
Yeah, thank goodness for community theaters, because I'm not going to see that at the Aronoff or Broadway.
No,
probably.
Unfortunately not. They're trying to get old rich people into those seats, so they bring the low budget shows. But let's get back onto the movie, huh?
Yeah, so the book itself was actually blacklisted in a lot of countries. It was sold in plastic wrap, and they had to put a warning label on it.
Nice.
So it's pretty intense right off the bat. So, I mean, it was the film itself was even given an NC-17 rating, which is unheard of, even for the 2000s.
That was back before. Was that 2000s? Did American Psycho come out in the 2000s?
Came out in 2000.
Really?
Yep.
I thought it was much older.
It looks like that because it's set in the 80s.
Huh.
But no, it's 2000.
Incredible.
It's kind of weird. Films from 2000 and 2001 look like they're set in the 90s, but they came out in 2002 and you know.
That's
Anyways, just
wild.
casual observation time with me. So promotion of this film here. How is it promoted? With a lot of ads, marketing most likely, but it was an early ARG, believe it or not.
Whoa!
Yeah, you could register to receive emails from, in air quotes, Patrick Bateman, supposedly to his therapist. These emails were written by the writer and attached to the film and were approved by the author. And they follow Bateman's life since the events of the film. And yeah, so it, it premiered at Sundance Film Festival in 2000.
Oh, it was a Sundance film.
Yep. And then
I love this.
The Motion Picture Association of America, the MPAA, I guess is what they call it, gave the film an NC-17 rating for a scene featuring Bateman having a threesome with 2 prostitutes. This scene is still in the movie, but they managed to cut out 18 seconds of the footage to kind of bump it back down to an R rating.
I want a red hat that says bring 18 seconds back.
You can probably see it in the uncut version. I don't know. It has like a... is there nudity? I don't remember. You can see Patrick Bateman's butt or Christian Bale's butt in like the first scene, so that's pretty.
I recently went to a viewing of The Room. That will be nothing.
I can handle anything. But that Huey Lewis rant that I started with, what the hell is that all about, huh?
Well, it's hip to be square.
Is he just like talking about Huey Lewis because he likes it? Like, what's going on there?
I don't know. I think that Huey Lewis was kind of in on the message when he wrote "It's hip to be square," because he wasn't meaning it's actually hip to be square. He was making a statement on people who are square.
Yeah, he's like, yeah. I mean, to be square means to fit perfectly.
Yeah, to fit in, right?
Gel. To be a consumerist, no.
I think that what Huey Lewis was trying to say was, you guys look like assholes. Like, it's not actually hip to be square. You're just making it seem like it's hip to be square when it absolutely is not hip to be square.
Yeah. The most hip thing you can do is to be yourself, right?
Yeah.
At least that's what I keep telling myself.
But then you got Patrick Bateman, who is absolutely never himself and doesn't even have his own form of identity.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, he's like identityless. He doesn't have any like actual distinguishing characteristics. He is exactly what the perfect man is supposed to be, the perfect like Wall Street man.
Perfect on the outside, crazy on the inside, right?
Well, crazy on the inside or void on the inside? Is he absolutely nothing on the inside? He is strictly an outside appearance.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then you can see why he doesn't care if he murders people, because there is no consciousness to what he's doing.
There's that low conscientiousness we were just talking about. So to further drive home that point, like the first opening scene, you see him getting ready in the morning and he's doing all this stuff. He's putting creams on his face. He's moisturizing.
Dolly Parton's 9 to 5. That's not true, but it should be.
He's doing crunches and all these exercises on his floor. He has this. Oop! I hit my mic. That was funny. He puts an ice mask over to reduce the puffiness in his face. Like, this guy's really aesthetic.
He's a fashionista.
Yes. He looks better than I will probably ever look. And
seriously, I do want a supercut of this to Dolly Parton's 9 to 5.
You can get it, I'm sure.
Stumble out of bed and I stumble to the kitchen, pour myself a cup of ambition. He's like putting the shit on his face.
Yeah, the shit about his face. He puts like a clear mask on. Like I compare it to Elmer's glue. I don't actually know what it is.
Well, I understand. You said that, now I know.
Yeah, it's a clear kind of thick thing, and he peels it off his face, and that's more than just peeling it off his face, because that's a mask, right? And masks can mean a lot of things, especially here in 2022. But it's kind of an abstraction, and he as he's peeling off the mask.
You didn't make the connection. You just pointed out and then left us hanging on it.
Okay, sorry. Here's what he says. He says, as he's peeling off this mask, there's a voiceover because Patrick is obviously telling the story. He says, there is an idea of Patrick Bateman, some kind of abstraction, but there is no real me, only an entity, something illusory. And though I can hide my cold gaze and you can shake my hand and feel flesh gripping yours, and maybe you can even sense that our lifestyles are probably comparable, I am simply not there.
Yeah, he's completely void of any sort of personality or identifying like mental things going on. Like how you and I can identify ourselves, like look in the mirror and be like, oh, this is who I am. These are my wants and dreams. These are my regrets. These are the lessons I've learned throughout my life and what's formed me to be me. He doesn't have any of that.
Right.
He is free and void of all of those things, and instead is strictly him in the moment acting without any repercussions because he doesn't believe in them.
Yeah. And when he's out in public, he's acting as he should. He's acting how his cohorts act.
Because he is a sociopath.
Hey, there we go. But the Huey Lewis rant, if I can backtrack a little bit,
By all means.
He could have merely memorized that from like a magazine article or something like that. He's just spouting off nonsense. And that's further evidenced by the second interview that he has with the detective, where he's like, what are your thoughts on Huey Lewis in the news? And he just says, oh, I just think he sounds a little too black for me. It's like, what? Is that even an opinion to have?
In the
Here
80s?
he was spouting off. Yeah, well, here he was spouting off about like, well, it really has this clean, crisp sound. And as he's getting ready to kill this guy, but meanwhile, when you get to the core of it, he doesn't like really have anything of substance. He doesn't have actual thoughts. He just has what society's told him to spout off. He's spouting off garbage that he just read from a magazine. So, yeah, it's a masterpiece. Okay, I'll say that much about the film. It goes deep on a metaphorical level that you probably wouldn't have seen coming. And I guess that the Huey Lewis scene is kind of a dark comedic point in the film because he's first off, he's in the process of murdering Paul Allen, which I guess is a cohort of his in the banking, the investment banking community.
Is he the one who had the nicer business card?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's his nemesis.
Yes. He had herringbone, and instead of
the business card scene is something to behold. I will say that.
Yeah. Because it goes back to what we were talking about. It's how you present
literally
to the world.
just a bunch of asshats with business cards comparing who has the nicer business card.
You haven't done that?
But it's like in the face of like consumerism, it's showing like how close a quote unquote asshole normal person though is to a sociopath. It's like there's a super fine line there.
He blends in, like a chameleon.
Yeah.
It's fine, until he lops somebody's heads off, of course. But
I mean, there's a term that can be a positive and a negative thing called social chameleon.
Yeah,
where in any situation you can blend in. I mean, we've all done it at some point.
Yeah.
Just to like taking on traits of people who we were spending time with to better fit into those different societies. But it makes you think. Is it the Wall Street businessman who is so close to being a psycho? Or are we saying that psychos could literally be any one of us, Yeah. Could this movie have taken place in a fish market in Manhattan rather than in a Wall Street business? I think the answer is yes.
I know. I feel like the thing that really works well for like what this movie is going for is that like because of consumerism, it's so easy to blend in as a sociopath. Because we're like constantly being told what we should do, what we have to do, what we need to do to be the right things. It's just like, all right, cool. Yeah, I know what to do now. Now I can go be the chameleon, even though like deep down I'm fucked.
I mean, think about it in like terms of like Native American skinwalkers, where like they would literally blend in to these tribes of Native Americans and then they would slaughter them in their sleep. But they were these fanciful creatures who basically were part animal, part human, who would wear the flesh of a person that they killed so they could gain the trust of the people around them. Imagine that kind of a thing, but in a society where instead of them having to put forth work to establish those connections, we are so drawn by advertisement that you can literally turn on a TV for 30 minutes and know everything you need to know about our society and blend in perfectly. Yeah. We have openly set up extraterrestrials to come in and do a secret invasion level threat to us because it would be so easy.
Access to TikTok.
I mean, another thing that was kind of coming out in the 90s was Coneheads, like the Saturday Night Live skit.
Dan Aykroyd,
and they had movies and everything, but the Coneheads literally were aliens who were blending into our society. And we just kind of ignored their weird quirks because people are human. Everybody's weird, but we can still be their friends. And they knew enough about our society watching TV and stuff to, blend in and speak the speak as it were. So if you were to take that and give it to a psycho, they would easily be able to, without having to form their own thoughts or opinions, talk about Huey Lewis in the news because back in the 80s, that was one of the most popular bands around.
He was going hard.
Yeah,
Going hard in the paint.
It's like it's that struggle to define your own like individualism amongst the tidal wave of opinions and thoughts and of everything that we're told what we should or shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
It's a real struggle, how to define yourself in a world that already has a definition for you. But apologies for getting deep there.
I kind of take comfort in the idea that I am my own person and I have flaws and quirks that I don't like about myself, but I can actively pick those out and be like, I don't like that about myself, but I can't change it.
Yeah.
That makes me now feel human in comparison to Patrick Bates. No, wait, Bateman? Patrick Bateman?
Yeah. Patrick Batman,
Bates,
am I right?
Different guy. Am I right, ladies? But yeah, Patrick Bateman, who would, by all definition, be one of the most agreeable people you could have interacted with at the time. Because everything that you would say to him, he would be like, I agree. That is correct. I also think that. Right. And for that reason, you would get along with him great until he was killing you with an axe.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
For whatever set him off.
Your business card of all things.
Of all things.
I've compared business cards. It was a bit of a bit. I'll admit it.
I don't have business cards, and I don't think I'm going to get any.
It was for a school project. I mean,
when I first got business cards, like I legitimately was like, "Whoa, look at this, guys! I got the triple ply hard."
I'll fix the paper.
And they were like, "What the fuck's wrong with you, Patrick Bateman? What the fuck? Are you gonna fucking kill us with a fucking axe, bro?"
Like, why'd you spend $80 on fucking business cards, dude?
Expense report. What do you mean? Stop bullying me!
What kind of finish did you get on it? Was it embossed or?
Oh my god!
I don't remember. It was like 5 years ago.
Because that's probably what cost you is the embossing. Because that'll.
I don't know. I went there moo.
I think it's fucked up that we charge more to make them in Braille. It should be the same cost, in my opinion.
Unironically true, though.
Yeah, no, I'm not being ironic. I was stating a fact.
Yes, the print world, it's still around for us designers. So every so often you got to print off business cards and compare them. I'm not psycho. I'm just a designer. I promise. Towards the end of the movie, though,
Nick, you can be both.
Really? That's news to me. Wow.
Huey Lewis in the news. Let's go. Let's keep going. What about the end of the movie?
We're left with the possibility that his crimes will never be discovered because he's pretty good at covering up his tracks.
Dope.
Or alternatively, they were all imaginary.
What?
Bateman's voiceover narration reveals the realization that he will escape the punishment he secretly desires and that there has been no catharsis for him. He says, quote, "This confession has meant nothing." Because he's recording all this. It's assumed that he's doing a voiceover on his life. So it's kind of crazy. I think we've already discussed kind of what this film is all about. Maybe it's about a guy having a psychotic break. That's certainly implied within the book and the movie itself. But it's largely a critique on what we just said, the shallow and vicious aspects of good old-fashioned American capitalism. The characters are predominantly concerned with material gain and superficial experiences.
Material Girl!
It's a good song by
That's all
Madonna.
I had.
I listened to it.
Her being a psychopath.
I didn't say that. Madonna's psychopath revealed?
Not clickbait.
Not clickbait. But it's the traits indicative of a postmodern world in which the quote-unquote surface reigns supreme. This leads Patrick Bateman to act as if everything is a commodity, including people, an attitude that is further evidenced by his rampant objectification and brutalization of women that occurs within the novel and the movie. This distancing of Patrick from his psyche allows him to rationalize all his actions. So there's that postmodern word once again that has reared its ugly head. And we'll probably do an entire episode on postmodernism as a whole, if you want to do that too. That sounds like fun, doesn't it? But yeah, this film.
Yes. Sorry.
Okay.
Was that a rhetorical question?
It was not rhetorical, but you guys can do it if you want to. Just don't look at me. That's when we start to get into like the psyche of a postmodern world, and it just gets surreal at times. I'll say that much. We're in the postmodern era, I think. You can look that up.
Can I work that into our intro somehow?
What?
Welcome to the postmodern show on the internet, encapsulating all things entertainment.
Postmodern. I guess you could. But yeah, this film just messes with your head. By the end of it, you're like, what was real? What was Patrick just making up? Did he actually kill people? Did he not kill people? Was he just talking to himself? And this is just him having a psychotic break. I don't know. It's kind of dubious. You can watch the film. Let me know what you think after all that, because I'd love to discuss it with you. But in conclusion, we finally got to the conclusion bit. This movie, however gruesome and over the top, has a message that screams at the top of its lungs towards our maybe slightly deafened ears. It's trying to tell us that we live in a society that values money in the facade of wealth and material goods above all else. And that's a problem. It's not unheard of to hear people completely losing themselves in the grind, as they call it, when the phrase the lights are on but nobody's home kind of hits and applies to this person, this Patrick Bateman type that we've all been pursuing. You can have a smiling, happy face in front of you, but on the inside, they might be suffering. And maybe they want to inflict suffering on you too. So keep an eye out for these people and then try to avoid toxic folks. And hey, turn up Huey Lewis in the news because his albums are honestly fire. Thanks for listening.
So one of two things is about to happen, dear listener, and I need you to hold on tight. The first of the two is that a quick this is about to occur.
Oh.
If that happens, it will be John Kincaid, one of the hosts of Big Chicken Bits, the show that we let steal our stream last week in replacement of an episode of our show.
Mm-hmm.
If it is not John Kincaid doing a quick this, then it's just going to be the outro and then the next episode will play. But whatever happens, just know, entertain us so we can entertain you, and you can entertain this. And we will see you next Friday. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. This episode of Entertain This was written by me, Nick Mustakangas, with additional commentary from Michael Savoya and Alex Steele. Our showrunner and resident fact-checker is Chloe Price. Our theme music is Rush Bubble by Aaron Spencer, with interstitial music by DJW. Tune in every Friday for new episodes, and thanks for listening.